Good afternoon, President Brown, members of the board.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so today I'm going to give you an update on the Renewable Energy Facility and how it helps us to support district goals around cost savings and sustainability.
Okay.
So this is the Renewable Energy Facility, which I'll also refer to as the REF during the presentation. And before I jump into what we do there, I'll start out with a broad overview of why do we even handle solids in the first place? Why is that part of what we do? And I'll tell you what a shift manager that we used to have at Southerly said. Her name was Mary Garapick, and she used to say, if you asked her how the plant was doing, well, it's coming in dirty and going out clean. And so that's your real broad, that's how wastewater treatment works. So we have a bunch of processes, and as the water goes through each process, it gets cleaner and cleaner because we're removing solids. So that material is what I'm talking about with solids handling. And it's interesting because when you look at solids, the solid side of it, after you make that water really, really clean, you go from raw sewage to what we're going to discharge to the environment. When you take the solids out, you actually want to concentrate the solids. So you're going the opposite way. You're trying to get water back out of those solids so that you have less material to deal with. Directly upstream of the Renewable Energy Facility, we have a thickening process. So that's sort of the first large point of solids handling. And there we thicken the sludge, which I also call solids or biosolids, to about 4% total solids. So if you're trying to think, what does that mean, 4%? Well, if you think about 2% milk, this is just barely thicker than that. So you say, oh, that's solid. Well, yeah, I mean, it isn't what we're doing. So that's actually pretty good for us. So it comes into the building like that, but that's not something that we can incinerate. It's way too wet for that.
Okay.
So we have centrifuges on the third floor of the building, and those dewatering centrifuges, along with a little polymer, allow us to thicken that material up to about 30% total solids. And that we can burn. That's what our incinerators are designed to handle. So we incinerate that. In the incineration process, we have a lot of heat. So we're talking 1,300 to 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Some of that heat is recycled back through the process to preheat air that's coming in, so it's a good energy efficiency. But we actually have more heat than we really need, so some of it would typically sort of be vented out of the system. And we capture the energy from that through waste heat boilers. We generate steam, high temperature, high pressure steam. We turn a turbine and we produce electricity. So here's where we're located on the campus of the Southerly Wastewater Treatment Center. And so for two reasons we're centralized. We're centralized at Southerly, but we're also the central handling of solids for the entire district. And this is a model that most wastewater utilities that have multiple sites follow. Rather than have solids handling scattered throughout your different sites, it makes a lot more sense to put it at one location and just bring your solids to it. The equipment we have is expensive. It's fairly specialized. People need special training and skill sets to work on it and to operate it. And so it makes sense to only do that in one location. So we handle all the solids from Southerly, all the solids from Easterly. And you might be like, well, Easterly's 13 miles away. Well, there's a dedicated pipeline that runs from Easterly, East 140th and Lakeshore, all the way to Southerly. They pump their solids to us. Those solids are only at about 1% total solids. So you say, wow, that's solid? Yeah, well, that's our sludge coming from Easterly. And eventually, the Westerly sludge will come to us as well. That's going to be sent in tankers. So here's our incineration process in a little more detail. And that diagram on the top left, you can see incineration and the steam generation, and then at the top, power generation. The photo to the far left shows you fluidized bed incinerator number 3 while the building was under construction. So this is about 2012, 2013. And the reason I wanted to show you this picture is because you can see the whole unit. So they put the incinerators in first, and then they built the building around them. So I can't take a picture like that now because there's floors and walls and stuff in the way. But that's the whole unit. On the bottom, that little like stem on the bottom is the wind box. So hot air is forced into there and then pushes up through the combustion chamber above it. And then you can see it to the left. You can't really see it very well, but you can see a little slice of incinerator number 2, and then there's incinerator number 1. So 3 matching incinerators, all with a capacity of 100 dry tons per day. And that photo to the right is fluidized bed incinerator number 3 in action in 2022. So it's in operation there. And you can see, obviously, there's a lot of building around it now that wasn't there before. Process manager Dan Hancock is in that picture to give you some scale of how large the incinerators are. And you can also see he's got a heat gun. He's checking out the temperatures on the skin of the incinerator. Incineration is a great option for solids handling for the district because it allows us to reduce considerably the volume of the material we have. So when I talked about that 30% total solids coming off of our centrifuges, which is our centrifuge cake. If we had to haul all of that to landfill, we would have around 20-ton trailer loads coming through the plant, through the village of Cuyahoga Heights, going on the highways every day. And there's a lot of risk associated with that. You have the tactical risk of possibly losing a trailer load, which is not a good thing. And then you also have the risk associated with landfilling as far as cost for hauling and tipping fees, possible closure of landfills, all those things. So we're able to reduce that risk by reducing the volume from those 20-ton trailer loads down to 120 dry tons per day of ash, which is a really nice material to handle. It's inert, and we can store it well, and there's a lot of good features to that. So this is one of the benefits of the Renewable Energy Facility. This is energy use across the entire southerly plant from when the facility came online in October 2013 to present. And you can see that nice red line showing that the energy use is going down, which is good because the rates are going up. At the very beginning, I would say that's very much attributed to the Renewable Energy Facility. As you move further to the right, there are also some energy conservation projects that are going on within REF and also throughout the rest of the plant. So some of that is attributed to that. This is our turbine. So it produces about 1.2 megawatts. The REF itself uses about 3 megawatts, so pretty good energy use that we have there. So it covers about half of that. The energy produced here only is used within the REF, so it doesn't go out to the rest of Southerly. But that allows us to avoid about $1,500 a day in electricity cost. And just for reference, the entire Southerly plant, including that 3 megawatts from REF, is about 10 megawatts on a dry day. On a wet day when we have a lot of equipment in action, it's about 12 megawatts. Now this, I think, is the beauty of technology that was installed in the Renewable Energy Facility. We used fluidized bed incineration. Prior to the REF, we had multiple hearth incineration. Multiple hearths use a lot of natural gas. The great thing about our fluidized bed incinerators is their main fuel source is actually sewage sludge. So the material we're trying to get rid of, we're using to power the fluidized bed incinerator. When you first bring a unit online, you need natural gas to heat it up. You heat up the refractory, you heat up the sand bed in there, get all that really hot. But then you start feeding sludge. And if you have the conditions just right, the sludge has a good fuel value to it, it's nice and dry, you can actually run with no natural gas use. And yesterday, for instance, 24-hour period, 2 incinerators running all day, no natural gas use. So very excited about that. And you can see where those dips are in the second part of the graph. Those are the summer months, so reduced natural gas. And this is for all of Southerly, so those peaks are because we use gas still for heating, of course. Okay, and then the final product that we have from the incineration process is ash. As I mentioned, it's a really nice product because we have ash lagoons directly across the street from Southerly where we can store this material. So we don't have to haul it out on a daily basis. We can store it and then periodically excavate and send it off to the, I'll tell you about that in a second. We can excavate it and send it off to where we're going to do final disposal of it. And when you look at that lagoon with all the water in it, you're like, well, that's not dry. You said the ash is really nice and dry. It is dry coming out of the incinerator. Then we add some plant effluent water that we recycle and set it in a slurry over to the lagoons so that it's got that nice storage location until we're ready to handle it. Each lagoon can hold about a year's worth of ash. And the great thing is that since 2018, we've worked with a local company, and they come in, they do charge us, but they come in, they take that ash away, and you can see the giant mountain of ash in that picture to the right. That's at their site where they've stockpiled it. We went out for a field trip to check it out. And they will add that material to a couple of other ingredients, and then they sell it on the wholesale landscape market as an engineered topsoil. So since 2018, 100% of that has not gone to landfill like it did before. So I'm really excited about that. And you can see great savings of over $900,000. And then this is good for us because the landfills, where we used to take the ash, are an hour up to a couple of hours away. So you have a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, scope 3 emissions associated with that, and now we've been able to reduce those too. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions?